everybody. My name is Giselle, and I will be talking about the poems that I chose for this week's discussion board post. So, the first one that I took a look at was poem number 23, and it's titled Poverty to Furious. So, in this poem, Catalyst, he's writing to a friend of his named Furious, and he kind of begins the poem talking to him about things that he has that aren't so great, like they're kind of mediocre. He talks about how he doesn't have any slaves, he doesn't have any cash, not even bugs. He doesn't have beetles or spiders. And so these are all things that a person could look at themselves and think like, oh, my life's not that great. I don't really have that much stuff. But even though Catalyst is listing all these things that might seem that way, in the middle of the poem he says, and you've a body drier than bone or whatever is most desiccated by heat and cold and hunger. Why wouldn't you be well and happy? You've no sweat, no phlegm or mucus, or evil cold in the head. So from this point on in the poem, he then begins to mention the things that Furious should be thankful for. And so it's kind of showing this idea of being content. And so the virtue that it reflects is this virtue of self-control. And we see that in the very last couple of lines where it says, don't despise it or consider it nothing, and cease to beg for that hundred, sister, you always ask for. Sufficiency is riches. So the reason why it reflects self-control is because we know in self-control, what's found is, as it says in the text regarding the virtues, conscientious frugality reminds the individual that the purpose of life in of itself is not the accumulation of wealth, and one can recognize the feelings and concerns of others over their personal emotions and interests. So we know in ancient Roman society, what was important was having a very frugal and modest life. It was even described that an ideal Roman citizen would be someone who works really hard and they live very simply. And so that's why even Catalyst here is telling Furious that he hasn't lost anything, rather, what he has, that is enough for him, and that he should be thankful that he has those things. And it's kind of flipping the narrative of it, that these riches, physical riches, that's not what really fulfills a person. And we also see in the second poem I chose was poem number 8, which is titled Advice to Himself. And so in this poem, Catalyst, he's kind of talking to himself, and he's telling himself not to be sad, kind of like kicking himself for being upset that this girl left him. And so what we see is this kind of inner battle where he's sad, but on the other end, he says, and now she no longer wants you, and you weak man, be unwilling to chase what flees or live in misery. Be strong-minded, stand firm. So there's one part of him that's really like vulnerable, really sad and down about it, but on the other end, he's telling himself to stand firm. And the reason why is because, we may see Catalyst in the perspective of, oh, she left you, like, he might be the one that seems that he's lost so much, but that's actually not the case, because at the end of the poem it says, woe to you, wicked girl, what life's left for you, who'll submit to you now, who will see your beauty? So it turns to now the girl who left him, she's being said, woe to you. And that's because the virtue that's being reflected here that's been violated is the virtue of honor and duty. So we know that in ancient Roman society, what was huge was having a civic duty, and even having that concern of not just your own situation, but how you affect others. And in that, her honor was compromised when she was unable to keep this commitment to Catalyst, and therefore she left, and her duty was actually broken as well. So we see that it's not Catalyst who's the one that has lost, but it's actually this girl, because she now has this reputation that's been affected of not being someone who's faithful. All right, guys, thank you so much.